Life throws unexpected curveballs when you least expect them. You believe you're in control, then one morning, everything flips. A simple knock on the door, a casual request for medication, spiraled into a moment that shattered everything I believed about myself, my family, and the limits I vowed never to breach. Life loves to throw unexpected curveballs, especially when you think you've got it all figured out. Returning home after college turned out to be way more complicated than I ever expected. Here I am, Logan Bennett. Get ready for a wild ride as I share how my world flipped completely upside down. Initially, moving back in with my dad Richard and stepmom Vivian felt like a solid plan. The job market was tough, so sticking with them while job hunting was a smart financial move. Vivian was my stepmother for 15 years, and we always clicked. At 62, Vivian exuded a youthful grace and energy that belied her age. She stayed fit with yoga and swimming, her silver-streaked brown hair framing her kind face perfectly. She was more of a friend than a stepmother. The first few weeks back home were cozy and predictable. Dad put in long hours at his construction company, while Vivian ran her small online business. I spent my days at home firing off resumes and gearing up for interviews. That fateful morning kicked off like any other. I was gearing up for a crucial job interview later that day, hustling in the bathroom. Steam filled the bathroom as I shaved, the mirror fogged up, when suddenly a soft knock echoed from the door. Karen's voice cut through, asking if she could quickly snag her medication from the cabinet. Without hesitation, I told her to come in. In our house, we were always laid back about those things. She strode in, clad in her signature silk robe, and reached for the medicine cabinet above the sink. What happened next unfolded in slow motion. She reached up, her robe snagging on the cabinet handle, and it flew open. Time stood still in that moment. Our eyes locked in the foggy mirror, and just like that, we both felt the tension rise. Ken snatched her robe, cheeks burning bright. "My apologies. Ethan, don't tell your dad about this," she whispered, rushing out that day. The morning's incident kept replaying in my head, distracting me during the interview and stirring unexpected feelings for Karen. Karen dodged me all day, and dinner that night was filled with an uncomfortable silence. The next morning, a note was slipped under my door. Karen's graceful handwriting inquired about a private chat as soon as Dad headed to work. My heart raced reading those words. This conversation was about to change everything. We gathered in the kitchen after Dad walked out. Vivian sat across from me, hands wrapped around her coffee mug, looking more vulnerable than ever before. "About yesterday," she started, her voice quivering just a bit. She confessed the bathroom incident had stirred unexpected feelings, ones she believed she had outgrown. I realized I had to admit I couldn't shake that moment from my mind. The tension crackled in the air as we sat there, both aware that something had changed between us. Vivian leaned in, her hand brushing against mine, sending a jolt of electricity coursing through me. In an instant, we were standing close together. Morning sunlight poured through the kitchen window, casting a glow on Karen's face, revealing the uncertainty and desire in her eyes as we drew nearer. Our lips collided in a soft, tentative kiss. It lasted mere seconds, yet felt like forever. We broke apart, and the weight of our actions crashed down on us. Vivian recoiled, hand over her mouth. "This is wrong," she whispered, yet her eyes revealed a different truth. I knew I should have just walked away, but something kept me there. The next few days turned into a thrilling game of stolen glances and calculated distances. We both put on a brave face around Dad, but the tension was thick in the air. Every accidental touch, every solitary moment, crackled with unvoiced feelings. I began crafting excuses to stay home, feigning job applications while secretly craving time alone with Vivian. She mirrored my actions, always finding excuses to be in the same room as me. She looked troubled, her usual composure cracking under the weight of guilt. "We need to talk," she said, shutting the door with a decisive click. She settled next to me on the small sofa, the familiar scent of her lavender perfume wrapping around us, a comforting reminder of high school breakups. It sparked something completely new within me. We chatted for hours, diving into everything and nothing, debating how wrong it was versus how right it felt. Our impossible situation loomed large, and the door slamming snapped us back to reality. Dad got home early, and we sprang apart, quickly fixing our clothes and hair, scrambling to look normal as we heard his key in the front door. At dinner with Dad, the burden of our secret loomed heavy. He shared his day, oblivious to how his son and wife had spent their afternoon. Vivian hardly ate a bite after dinner. Vivian slipped a note in my room. "Meet me in the garden at midnight." I knew I should walk away and cut it off before it spiraled, but I just couldn't help myself. "Ethan, you're always on my mind." "I get it, it's rough, but I've never experienced anything like this before." With our thighs pressed together, the night air was crisp, yet I felt a rush of warmth. I feel it. The admission lingered between us, palpable and charged. We kissed again, this time with more passion, her hands roaming my chest while mine followed the curve of her waist. Our connection's forbidden nature only cranked up the intensity. A distant dog bark startled us apart. Reality hit hard. We were exposed, fully visible, and the risk we were taking felt utterly crazy. Vivian jumped to her feet. She adjusted her clothes and said, "We can't do this here." Yet her eyes hinted at something greater. We decided to be more cautious and seek out safer times to connect. The next few days dragged on painfully. Seeing Vivian with my dad, both acting like everything was fine, while our hidden truth simmered beneath the surface. Family dinners turned into a test of willpower. Tossing and turning, I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with thoughts of Vivian in the next room. The walls felt paper thin, the house cramped, overwhelmed by the intensity of what was unfolding between us. One morning, I caught Vivian alone in the kitchen again. The memory of our first kiss lingered in the air. Silently, she slipped into my embrace, fitting flawlessly against me. We knew we were flirting with danger. Every touch, every stolen moment edged us closer to being caught. The pull between us was undeniable. Vivian fought to uphold her boundaries, but whenever we were alone, they collapsed like sandcastles washed away by the waves. Day by day, the tension escalated. Every simple moment sparked with significance. Glancing in the hallway, locking eyes at dinner, and quick brushes while washing dishes. Dad sensed a change, but chalked it up to job search stress. If only he understood the true reason behind the shift in his son and wife's behavior. With each passing day, our bond intensified. What began as a spark of attraction evolved into a complex, deeper connection. We opened up, sharing thoughts and feelings we had never revealed to anyone before. The guilt lingered, but our feelings burned brighter. Every day pushed us closer to a point of no return, a game-changing decision on the horizon. Morning arrived, and change kicked off just like always. Dad was off to work early, and I spotted Vivian in the kitchen brewing coffee. She slipped into the same silk robe from that first morning in the bathroom, but this time it was intentional. Our eyes locked in the kitchen, and without a word, we moved toward each other, coffee left behind. Vivian brushed past, her hand slipping under my t-shirt. This kiss was unlike any other. Desperate, hungry, and bursting with weeks of pent-up desire, I hoisted her onto the kitchen counter, standing between her legs as our lips met. Her robe fell open, and this time there was no awkward apology, just confidence and freedom. Her skin felt silky beneath my touch, her breath warm and heavy against my neck. What happened was inevitable. We united in a fiery embrace. With all thoughts of consequences pushed aside, the kitchen counter, my breakfast spot for years, transformed into the stage for our first true intimate encounter. Then, we embraced tightly. Reality rushed back in. The kitchen clock ticked loudly, a constant reminder that time was still moving, even if it felt frozen. Karen's fingers danced across my chest as we caught our breath. "We can't take this back," she whispered, her voice tinged with both satisfaction and concern. In stolen moments and secret meetings, we discovered inventive ways to connect. In the early mornings before Dad stirred, during afternoons at work, and in those fleeting, quiet moments, her happiness shone bright. I was diving deeper into our physical connection, evolving into something more emotional and complex. but guilt gnawed at us every time Dad hugged Vivian or expressed his pride. It felt like a knife twisting in my belly. We were betraying him in the most unimaginable way. One evening, in her yoga room while Dad worked late, Karen cried, "We can't keep doing this." Yet her arms tightened around me as she said it. I pulled her in tight, inhaling that comforting lavender aroma. I replied, but neither of us budged to let go. We were hooked on each other in this thrilling, forbidden bond we had forged. The next morning, Dad declared he was off on a week-long business trip. Vivian and I dodged eye contact, fully aware of what this meant. A whole week of freedom together felt like a dream come true. We cooked, watched movies, cuddled on the couch, and explored each other's bodies and minds for hours. But reality always finds a way to crash the perfect dream. Midweek, Dad called, hinting he might be home early. The news hit hard, sending us into a frenzy. When I got home that evening, Karen was already waiting in the garden. She radiated beauty in the fading light, yet a new sadness flickered in her eyes. "We need to talk," she said, tapping the spot next to her on the bench. I sat down, my heart weighed down by the truth. Everything she built was based on lies and betrayals. We can't keep living like this. I knew she was right, but the thought of ending it made my chest tighten. "What's our plan?" She anticipated the response and added hesitantly, "Your father doesn't deserve this, and you deserve a shot at a normal relationship with someone your age." The words stung, even if I knew they were spot on. Vivian is my father's wife, and no matter how intense our feelings, that won't change. We sat quietly, hands clasped, eyes glued to the sunset. It all felt so final, like we were at a funeral for something that barely got a chance to live. I finally said it. I need to move out. It was the only logical choice. Being stuck at home with Vivian daily while battling our feelings, that's a recipe for disaster. Karen nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I think that's best. Ethan," she turned to me, her eyes blazing. "What happened between us was real, and I want you to know that. It was more than just physical attraction or a midlife crisis." I pulled her in tight, soaking up the moment, feeling her warmth in my arms one last time. I whispered into her gentle, bittersweet embrace. "I know." It contained everything unspoken: regret, love, and the impossible dreams we'd never chase. The next morning, I told Dad I found an apartment closer to the city with more job opportunities for him. Surprised yet supportive, Karen beamed with pride as I took charge of my career. Together, we packed efficiently, keeping a respectful distance. Every accidental brush of a hand, every fleeting glance felt like a farewell the day I moved. It was chaotic and flawed, yet undeniably authentic, impactful, and life-changing. A few months later, I landed a great job and started dating. I attempted to move on, but late nights brought back memories of those weeks with Vivian and our impossible love that we had to release, even though Dad, Vivian, and I are still tied together. Now, when I visit, Vivian and I keep our distance, our secrets tucked away. Yet, sometimes our eyes meet across the dinner table, and I catch a glimpse of what we once had, the echo of passionate days and nights, the bittersweet taste of a love that defied the rules. Life surprises you like that. It can shine fiercely, then fade away in an instant.